Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aaron Plant. I am the clerk for the Recreation Advisory Committee, and I'd like to welcome you all here today to this meeting. So our first order of business will be to approve the agenda. The agenda was circulated to you yesterday. I don't think there's any additions, so I will ask for a mover and a seconder to approve that agenda. Can I please have a mover? Councillor Benedrisi and Chris. Thank you so much. Next item is disclosure of pecuniary interests. Are there any disclosures? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of previous meeting minutes. Obviously, this is our inaugural meeting, so we don't have any minutes to approve. So we'll go right into presentations. And I'm going to be running a brief orientation session with Nikki. And if you just give me a second, I'm going to share my screen.
I couldn't figure it out. You're getting a transcript though.
Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to our first meeting of the Recreation Advisory Committee. I'm very excited to have you all here. I'm looking forward to getting to know you over the next few months as we work together and provide advice and recommendations to council regarding recreation. As you can see here, I'm sharing my screen. This is a presentation which I'm going to walk us through. It's just a bit of a brief orientation to the work of the committee. So to begin, let's start over what we're going to cover in this orientation. We're going to discuss the roles and responsibilities of the staff and council members as well as the members themselves. Next, we're going to talk about the purpose of the committee. Then we're going to go talk a little bit about meeting procedure. And we're going to end with Nikki talking about recreation organizational structure. So all very exciting topics. So a little bit about the background of this committee. The committee was formed in 2018 as the Recreation Facilities Advisory Board. And the purpose of the board was to provide recommendations and advice to council regarding the site selection for the Norfolk Hub project. Because the county did not receive a grant through the Investing in Canadian Infrastructure Program, the purpose of the board was to reevaluate what the purpose of the board was going to be. And December 8th of 2020, the council reorganized the Recreation Advisory Board into the Recreation Advisory Committee and approved an updated and more general terms of references which guide the committee. I'll talk a little bit about that momentarily. In terms of staff, we have two staff members who are going to assist the committee. My name is Aaron Plant, and I'm a committee coordinator for the Recreation Advisory Committee. And my main responsibility is to provide legislative support, administrative support, as well as recommendations regarding procedure and policy. And we also have Nikki Sloat, who's our Director of Recreation. She's the staff liaison for the committee, and she's going to provide technical knowledge about recreation best practices, programs, as well as serve as a liaison between the committee and other departments within the organization. Council has also appointed two members of council to sit on this committee, to provide guidance and support from a council perspective. The council liaisons are Councillor Linda Benedrisi from Ward 2 and Councillor Chris Van Passen, who's from Ward 4. The purpose of the council liaisons is to provide regular verbal updates to council on the progress of the committee, as well as provide support to the advisory committee and the county staff liaisons when reports or presentations are needed on behalf of the committee to council. Individual roles of members themselves. So the members themselves play a really important role. That's why we're here. We're here to support you and help you play an important role in our democratic process. And of course, you have responsibilities and expectations. The expectation that you attend meetings on a regular basis, and when not able to attend, just provide me a quick email saying, "Hi, Aaron, just letting you know I'm not able to attend the meeting," and that way we know if we're quorum or not. Also, I'm going to ask that you send suggestions for agenda items to me and whoever we choose to be our chair for possible future agendas. Be prepared for meetings. I'm going to send regular updates to you. I'll send you documentation, as well as agendas and minutes for you to review and provide comments on, so keep an eye out for that. And ultimately, we want your advice. We want your recommendations, so bring all your different ideas and suggestions and excitement, and participate in discussions fulsomely. Also, you're going to carry out some tasks. As we develop a work plan, discuss what we're actually going to accomplish as a committee, think about what you want. What are some of your goals for the community and how we can support you and you can support the committee. Then you can provide suggestions and share resources for the community members. You really are the liaisons between the community and the committee. So bring ideas, hear from your neighbors, your friends, your community members, and ultimately be kind and respectful and act according to the code of conduct, which guides us all. Perhaps this meeting or at a future meeting, we're going to be electing a chair and vice chair. Both the chair and the vice chair play a really critical role in making sure our meetings managed are effectively. The chair moderates discussion, but does not participate in debate until the end of discussion. The chair has the same voting rights as any other member and can vote like any other member of the committee. The chair and vice chair will direct discussions in a fair and efficient manner and help us keep track by leading us through the agenda. I will set up meetings with the chair and the staff liaison a couple weeks before our meetings to plan out an agenda and discuss how we want this meeting to go and what some of our goals will be. And occasionally the chair or vice chair might represent the committee in official capacities, such as speaking at council or providing deputations. So what's the goal of this committee? What's the mandate? According to the terms of reference, which is on page 17 of your agenda, the terms of references mandate that the committee will provide recommendations and advice to county council with respect to recreation. And some of the key items of recommendation this committee will bring before council include the status of programs and the relationship with community needs, education of community on recreational issues, increased public awareness of programs and services offered by the county, as well as provide input on capital projects as they come forward by staff. So this is some of the more exciting part, at least for me as a clerk. What are some of the meeting procedures? We are going to be following by the county's terms of the county's procedural bylaw, which indicate that for quorum, for a meeting to make quorum, we need 50% of the members plus one to be in attendance. So in our case, that's 4 to 7. And that's why it's really important that you let me know if you're able to attend or not, because if we don't have enough people to attend, we'll just cancel the meeting or reschedule because we can't make an official meeting. Motions. During the meeting, voting members can make a motion, which is a formal proposal to move the business of the committee forward. And as your clerk, I'll also bring forward recommendations and suggestions on how to move the committee forward, and you, of course, will bring movers and seconders. But if you have an idea or really want to bring a motion forward, happy to discuss it before the meeting, and you can also bring it forth during the meeting. Resolutions require a mover and seconder. We've already gone through a couple of motions already at this meeting, so it'll be a lot like that. And what's important that this is an advisory committee, and you actually play a critical role in the democratic process here in Norfolk County, but ultimately it's going to provide recommendations to council who will choose to ratify and direct staff accordingly. All decisions made by the committee are recommendations to council. Council receives the minutes of and recommendations from the committee as information and may direct staff to action the recommendations from council's resolution. If the recommendations are not actions, council has received the committee's input as consideration in their decision-making process. So all decisions are ultimately made by council. And of course, this is a committee, and although we're going to have fun, we're going to get to know each other, we're also a formal, recommending body. So we're going to follow some funny little procedures like speaking through the chair. So when you want to speak to an agenda item, members ordinarily begin by saying, through you, Mr. Chair, or through you, Madam Chair, and then proceed with your comment or question. What are some principles that will guide this committee? Democratic, that's really important. The majority has the right to decide on matters. But in the same breath, minority have also a right. They have the right to be heard and to provide suggestions and have their input considered. As part of every agenda, we're going to have a declaration of interest. If members have any conflicts of interest, they must inform the clerk prior to the meeting and announce at the start of the meeting. And if you have any questions about that, just get a hold of me. I'm happy to talk to you about that, what that will look like. Every member of this committee has the right to an efficient meeting and share equal rights and privileges, and the right to be respected and to be heard. And when in doubt about anything regarding the committee, ask the clerk. I'm here to help. So I'm the recording secretary for this committee, and I usually take notes for it, and I'll help prepare agendas and minutes. Minutes are taken without note or comment, which is kind of a fancy way of saying that they don't reflect what was actually said verbatim, but rather it's going to highlight what was actually decided by the committee and made recommendations to council. The committee meeting follows the same procedures as council, as outlined in the county's procedural bylaw. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Nikki, who's going to talk a little bit about the organization of the corporation and the recreation department.
Thanks, Aaron. So what you're seeing in front of you right now is the organizational structure of the county itself, where it starts at the top with Norfolk Council and Committee. Under that, we've got the Chief Administrative Officer, who is Al Menez. And we have then the General Manager for Community Development. So recreation has been newly added to the Community Development Department just in January of this year. And the GM of that department is Brandon Sloan, who is also here with us today. He has a division coordinator and a division assistant, as well as 5 directors leading various departments. So there's a director of planning, who is Trisha Givens, the director of building and the chief building official, who is Fritz Enslin, and the director of strategic innovation and economic development, which is Zvi Lifshe. And we have Melissa Culver, who is the Director of Heritage and Culture, and myself, which is the Director of Recreation.
Next slide, Nikki.
Yes, please. All right, so this is the meat and potatoes of the Recreation Department. We are made up of aquatics and recreational programming, as well as responsible for all facility booking of all of the recreation facilities within the county. So we have a supervisor of aquatics, a supervisor of community programs, and then we also have customer service representatives that work out of the Simcoe Recreation Center and are the ones that anybody who will call in regards to facility booking one-offs, as well as recreation programming and scheduling of activities and that sort of thing. We also have the facility booking clerk. And right now, at this time, we still have a temporary full-time position that was the Perfect Mind implementation clerk, who has been doing a great job behind the scenes getting our new Encore online booking system up and running. So in the aquatics world, we've got the Simcoe Recreation Center, Annalise Carr Aquatic Center. And so that's a full-time facility, and we have various instructor guards and some students and part-time, full-time, and it is running 7 days a week at the moment, and lots of programming opportunities. Under the community programs area, we've got a recreation coordinator of active adults and inclusion, which is helping us get the Simcoe seniors who have just newly moved into the Simcoe Recreation Center up and running. They started up for programming again in the middle of October and I think they have grown now to about 450 members, which is great. We've got the Delhi Seniors Group, which is going to be rolling out at the beginning of December. We're doing a membership drive and an open house at the Delhi Friendship Center on December 8th. And then we also have the Recreation Coordinator, Child, Youth, and Special Events, and she is responsible for programming all of the summer programs and anything child, youth related, as well as some of our special events. And then we also have a recreation coordinator, fitness and active living, who looks after anything fitness related. So she looks after all of our various programs, walking clubs, and different things that we can get into a little bit more detail later. And that is about it. We have our facility booking clerk, who I mentioned, is responsible for booking all of our community halls, all of the arenas, the parks, anything that meeting spaces, event spaces, and anything rec related. And I will turn it back to Erin.
Thanks, Nikki. So that was more or less the quick and dirty version of our orientation session. I moved through that pretty quickly, so if you have any questions, please let us know. We're happy to answer questions. Hi, Councillor Vipassan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And a request from you. You touched on the conflict of interest stuff. Would it be possible to circulate sort of that section in the Municipal Act and, get the difference between Municipal Act is concerned about pecuniary conflict of interest, right? So just because you're a member of the figure skating club board of directors, that does not put you in a conflict. You know, I'd hate to lose input because we're cutting too fine a rule on what constitutes conflict. So if you maybe could circulate that to the members, please.
Absolutely, we'll definitely circulate that. And I appreciate that that context. That's really important, right? About financial interest and whatnot. So if you're, like Councillor said, if you're a member of the board or committee, you're welcome to still participate. If you have any specific questions about it, you're welcome to speak to me, and I'll walk you through it, but we'll definitely circulate that information to the committee. Paul?
Thank you. I was just a quick question for Nikki on who handles the outdoor facilities that don't need programming, like the trail networks and things like that, in terms of management. Does that fall under Director of Recreation as well?
No, Paul. Anything operational, so all of the facilities themselves, including trails, are all within our operations division, which falls under a different department. We do work in conjunction with them, but if we're not programming it or we're not booking it, then it's not a recreation responsibility.
Kate?
Hi, I was just wondering, are there any rules that we need to keep in mind to follow, say, if we're between meetings and we're interacting with each other or interacting with the public? Like anything we need to keep in mind? Do we need to copy all of our emails to each other to the clerk if it's regarding this, etc.?
So that's a great question. I appreciate that. So in your interaction with your neighbors, your friends, or if you want to discuss, some of the matters of the committee with, your neighbors or what are getting ideas, that's not necessarily needs to be copied to me. But for example, any official communication will come through my office as the clerk. So if you want to circulate it to the rest of the committee, please send it to me and I'll send it out. Or if anyone has a specific question with the committee or wants to perhaps bring an idea to the committee, you can connect with me. I'll be happy to arrange that and have that conversation. Does that answer your question? Good. Brandon?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Maybe you could just touch on to how it might work as committee members, and if you're approached by media, when and when not to be speaking on behalf of the committee versus you as an individual. Perhaps we can touch on that.
So I'm going to defer that to my supervisor, Kevin Klingenberg, who's the deputy clerk. I think he might have a better grasp of the media policy and when management can speak to specific matters.
Thanks, Aaron. So I would recommend to, if you're not comfortable with saying anything, to not say anything and refer it back to the clerk's department, and we can arrange a media response to our communications department. Theoretically, everything should, a response speaking on behalf of a committee should go to council first for approval. So it's just as context to have it as a consideration, as a recommendation. So what the Recreation Advisory Committee intentions to do has to get solidified and approved by council before becoming any official business with the county. So those would be considerations, and if you wanted a boilerplate response to a media inquiry, you could go with that. I would say if you get caught flat on your feet, to just simply say we'll look into it and go back to let Aaron know of the matter, and we'll facilitate through our communications department.
Is there any other questions? I don't see any hands, so then we're going to have a motion to receive and file that presentation. Can I please have a mover? Oh, God. We have Kate as the mover. Can I please have a seconder? We have Councillor Vandendracy. Thank you, Councillor. Okay, let's have all in favor. That motion carries. Excellent. So now we're at the deputation sections. So this is perhaps the first agenda item here that we might not be super familiar with. Deputations are when individuals like to speak to the committee, bring ideas forward. That would be an official presentation. We don't get those too often at the committee level, but if they do, that will come through my office and I'll be happy to facilitate that. There's a whole form and a process for that, but that doesn't happen too often at the committee level. So the next matter is matters to be considered. This is really the meat and potatoes of our meetings. These are where we're going to put the majority of our discussion items. So I was thinking it'd be fun to go through a bit of a round table for introduction of committee members and just introduce ourselves. We are recording this, will be posted on our website, so don't feel free as you to say too much, but just certainly say your name, what part of the county you're from, and what maybe perhaps brought you an interest in being a part of the advisory board. And to sort of facilitate this, I think I'm going to ask Chris. Do you mind going first, Chris?
Which Chris, me?
Yes, please.
Okay. Hi, I'm Chris DeMeester. I'm from Langton in Ward 2, and I was on the previous RFAB committee and decided I wanted to be on this one as well.
Excellent. We're glad to have you here. Paul, do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm out in Walsingham area, Ward 1. And, I have a strong interest in the recreational facilities of Norfolk County, both outdoor facilities and indoor facilities. Member of the Turkey Point Mountain Biking Club, which has 612 members, about a third of which are Norfolk residents. And they use 86 kilometers of hiking and biking trails down near Turkey Point. So I'm a strong advocate for the trail networks that Norfolk County is very well known for. I also have a horse farm out here in Walsingham, so we use the St. Williams Forest trails. And again, that's another great recreational resource. That's what kind of drove my questions there, Nikki. In terms of indoor activities, I've had 3 boys on the Norfolk Hammerheads Aquatic Club for over a decade. So my wife is president of the Hammerheads, and we're strong advocates for better aquatics facilities.
That's great. It's good to see so much involvement in the community. Councillor Andrews, you want to share a little bit about yourself? Sorry, Councillor, you're on mute.
It's just these aged fingers have trouble getting to that little phone. Anyway, I'm Linda Vanadrucci, Ward 2 councillor. I have 3 sons as well, and they participated in many sports activities, and hockey, of course, was one of the major ones, and did have boys that played a lot of hardball out of Walsingham, and we really enjoyed all that. So, and I did have one that was a swimmer, but it was out of Tilsonburg. But nevertheless, we are a family that loves, and now with grandchildren, loves to see children participate in sports and activities as well as adults. So I'm very keen on this committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Passon?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris Van Passen, the councillor for Ward 4. Now, Ward 4 touches every other ward, so that makes me everybody's neighbor. So, we're the little strip down the center. I don't have any urban areas in Ward 4. There's 13 hamlets, but there's nobody hooked up to town water and sewer. So I bring that perspective to the table. And a bit of my history, I was a couple terms on council back in the day when we existed as a city of Nanticoke. So well versed in the problems in Dover, Woodhouse, Waterford, Townsend. And then did about 10 years on the Tobacco Marketing Board, which was everything on the west side of the county. So I guess that's one of my things. I won't get lost anywhere in Norfolk County. So I've been around and been here my whole life. So I think that's what I get to bring to the table. So.
Kate, do you want to share a little bit?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kate Vandermeer. I live in Port Rowan. I moved out to Norfolk when I was 15. I'm 31 now. I used to live out by Frogmore area, so I know the rural struggle, but yeah, I'm just really excited to help where I can to consult with the public and hopefully we can all move forward in a direction. You know, we can't please everybody, but we'll do our best. And I have 3 boys, so I'm excited to help build a legacy that's going to be there for them and my grandkids too.
That's great. Ryan?
Hi, I'm Ryan Gartner. I live just in Pine Grove, nice little hamlet south of Delhi. Grew up just outside of Victoria, born and raised here my whole life. So went away to school, came back, and I'm a teacher here at Delhi District Secondary School, phys ed teacher. Grew up in every sport you can think of, so I love recreation. I love it to be available. I have 4 littles of my own, 3 boys and a girl, so I want them to grow up and enjoy the same great things I did here, and just want to ensure the same thing, that it's there for them, and yeah, that's why I wanted to get involved.
Thanks, Ryan. Brandon, do you want to share a little bit?
Sure, might as well. So I'm Brandon, General Manager for Community Development, as Nikki did a little bit of intro there. And I've had the pleasure of working for Norfolk County over the past year and a bit. I came here last July after 20 years at City of Kitchener in the Kitchener-Waterloo area. And I am enjoying many things so far, including the recreation within Norfolk County, and including those Turkey Point trails that I live beside in Mr. Van Passen's ward. You'll probably just see me from time to time to help with support with Nikki, and as we bring some items and agenda items over the coming time frame to this group. From my perspective, recreation is a huge part of healthy communities, and that's a lot of what our community development group is about. We are a new division with some different departments that are together, but we do have a lot of commonalities, and we do want to find some ways to work together with our community. That's kind of one of the mottos and vision for Norfolk County right now. And so through this group and through some other avenues, we want to find ways that we can connect and work together for a great community here in Norfolk. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Brandon. I think I'll ask my supervisor, Kevin, my fearless leader, if he wants to maybe introduce himself.
Thanks, Aaron. Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm the deputy clerk here. I'm just joining for the inaugural meeting here. I look forward to learning more about recreation here at Norfolk County. And growing up, I grew up just on the north end, on the County of Brant side. And I enjoyed a lot of the recreation in Norfolk County that they have to offer, particularly the trails up near Waterford. And I've also had a lot of childhood experiences down on the lakeshore. So recreation is near and dear to me as well in Norfolk County, and I'm enthusiastic that the committee is up and running again. So pleased to meet you all.
Thanks, Kevin. I don't think I'll share too much about myself, so I sort of introduced myself a little bit during the presentation, but my name is Aaron Plont. I'm a legislative committee coordinator here at Norfolk County, and I serve as the clerk for this specific committee. I previously worked in the town of Lincoln and Niagara region and in the city of Hamilton. I live in Haldeman County, but I have deep appreciation for Norfolk County. I remember growing up, coming often to Port Dover and getting a foot-long hot dog by my grandpa, so I'm really excited to be able to work and serve a community that is near and dear to my heart. Nikki, do you have anything you want to share?
Why, certainly. Thanks, Aaron. I am Nikki Sloat. I have been born and raised in Haldeman County, but have worked for Norfolk County since its inception in January of 2020. And Linda and I go way back from that time period. Prior to that, I worked for Haldeman, or the town of Haldeman, for 7 years before coming here to Norfolk. So I've been in the area for quite some time and spent many hours in all of the facilities, as I too had a son growing up and who spent many time in the hockey arenas and on the ball fields and everywhere else in Haldeman and in Norfolk. So I am very excited to have this committee started. We've got a lot of things we've got on the docket that we're going to be hopefully working through and getting together and getting some great ideas and some information from you guys. And I look forward to working with all of you.
Thanks, Nikki. I think that's everyone. Did I miss anybody? Doesn't look like it. I don't think we have anything else who wants to share anything. So let's move on to our next agenda item 7.2, which is an information memo, which is regarding the proposed committee meeting dates and time, which is found on page 19 of your agendas. So the information memo is before you in your agendas. Really, this committee can determine what time and how often we want to meet. And I understand I have a conversation with one or two of you regarding your availability. I think this is an opportunity for us to go through together and see what will work best. Staff have had a conversation regarding it, and we're recommending that this committee meet on the third Thursday of the month, usually at 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Officially, we're going to be scheduling meetings monthly, but just because of various commitments, as well as how we want to respect your time, make sure we have fulsome discussions, we imagine the committee will probably meet more like 4 to 6 times a year, but we'll definitely keep you informed of when meetings will occur and if they'll be rescheduling. So is everyone okay with that time frame? Does anyone have a conflict at 2:30? Councillor Van Passen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And through you, I'll throw out the question if somebody's shy, but does anybody have a problem with that 2:30 time frame? I know we're trying to balance availability of the members with the staff availability. We don't want to be paying overtime to staff, but we also want to, if schools get out at 3 o'clock or something, could we kick it back by half an hour if needed? Or hope nobody's shy about asking or requesting a different time.
Chris?
Yeah, the third Thursday works for me. If you want to move it to 2 o'clock, that works as well too. Otherwise, 2:30 is good with me.
Ryan, I think we had a conversation regarding what works better for you, 2 or 2:30? I know you're a teacher.
2:30 is the easiest. Just when you get into 2, I'm had to juggle a lot today. There was a lot of juggling I had to do because there's a lot of people away as of right now. But 2:30, I usually can juggle to get my coverage or my prep to be at that time. Especially only one time a month is not a big deal. So 2:30 would be fine with me.
Thanks, Ryan. Did anyone else have any thoughts or feelings on the matter? Does this work for everybody? 2:30? Okay, how do I see your finger up? Good. Paul, is this okay for you?
Either is fine with me.
Okay. Well, if that's okay, I think we can try to probably accommodate Ryan's schedule because I know he's a teacher and probably has a pretty busy schedule. So if we go for 2:30, if there's no other question, we have a motion. I don't know if there's any more questions or comments. Okay. So there's nothing further than the motion for this item will be that the information memo regarding the proposed committee dates and times you received as information, and that the proposed dates and times of the Recreation Advisory Committee meetings be approved. Can I please have a mover and a seconder? That's moved by Paul, that's seconded by Chris. Can I please have votes in favor? That motion carries. Thank you very much. So our next and final agenda item before us is the election of a chair and vice chair. We can have this discussion now. If people aren't comfortable necessarily deciding who should be the chair or vice chair right now, we can defer this to the next meeting. Does anyone want to offer to serve as either of these positions? Councillor Menendrisi?
I don't mind serving as vice chair, but I think it would be one of the other community members to be chair would actually be quite awesome. But I'm willing to.
Does anyone else want to serve as vice chair? Seeing no other hands, okay. So, Councillor Van Passen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to make the same comment, and I think a lot of our committees, you'll find this, that always like it when it's a member of the public as the chair, and the vice chair tends to be one of the council reps on the committee, and that gives a good a way to get feedback through to council and things like that. So, I'm hoping that one of the public members would be willing to step forward, or, it's too bad we're not in one room because we could poke them and somebody would flinch, but we can't do that over the internet. So.
So I think we'll first deal with the motion to appoint Councillor Linda Van Driesie as vice chair for a 1-year term. Can I please have a mover for that motion? Councillor Van Passen. Can I please have a seconder? That's going to be Kate. All in favor of Councillor Van Driesie being vice chair for a 1-year term? Can I see all hands? Thank you. That motion carries. Congratulations, Madam Vice Chair.
Was that your hand up as opposed, Linda?
Okay, any takers for chair? Okay, is that an offer to be chair?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay. Does anyone else want to offer to be chair? Okay. Oh, Councillor Van Passen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll put motion forward that Kate be appointed as chair of the committee.
Very good. So we have a motion before us, and that mover is Councillor Van Passen. Can I have a seconder to appoint Kate as chair? We have Chris. Thank you so much. All in favor of Kate being appointed chair for the committee for a 1-year term? Can I see? Okay. Excellent. That motion carries. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. So if the chair will allow me, I think we'll just finish off this meeting before calling adjournment. So right now on the agenda, we have no communications before us. Does anyone have any other business they want to bring before the committee?
No.
Paul?
Yes, in order for us to best conduct our job for January, I was hoping we could kind of have a bit of a State of the Union presentation for the next meeting. Something that shows, what's worked during COVID, what hasn't worked during COVID, the status of the seniors moving into the rec facilities in Simcoe, and what are the current issues surrounding the recreation. I think that would be a great starting point for our first real meeting in January.
That's great. We'll definitely have that included on our upcoming agenda. Thanks so much. Councillor Van Passen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And maybe to add to that, could we pull out from the 10-year capital forecast some of the highlights to do with the projected costs on the recreation facilities in Norfolk? Because I think the two will fit together very well. So.
I'm getting a nod from Nikki, so I think we can definitely do that the next agenda for sure. Anything else anyone wants to bring forward under new business? Chris?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering, is there a timeline for when the community center will be open? Or any of the community centers, especially Langton?
So I'm going to defer that to my colleague, Nikki.
For sure. Actually, Chris, we are open for business. The community
Oh.
centers are open.
Okay, perfect. I didn't know if they were done renovations here or not yet.
Oh, sorry. In Langton, no, you're right. The
Okay.
Langton Community Center is still under renovations. They're not expecting to be completed until January. But
Oh,
the
okay.
balance of our community centers, with the exception of the Victoria Community Center, because it's still under the vaccine, as the vaccine location.
Location, okay.
So yeah, so that
Okay.
one is still closed as well, but the rest of them are open.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Paul, did I see a hand there, or was that just a?
Yeah, I was just going to add a little more to Nikki's plate here and just ask, for January, if you could have how many private groups are using the resources. You can limit it to, just the current rec facilities resources. You don't have to try and capture the mountain biking clubs and the cycling clubs and things like that. But, I'm interested in all aspects of recreation, but, from your perspective right now, how many private groups do we have? And, we'll follow on with what kind of usage are they making of the facilities? Both, from a geographic standpoint and from a time frame standpoint.
Now, when you're saying private groups, are you don't want community organizations, or are you including them as private groups?
Yeah, sorry,
Anybody?
individual groups is a bit of a misnomer. Just how many groups?
Okay.
You know, you can lump it all in. You know, any data you feed us is good at this point.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul. Then Councillor Benedrici.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. My question is for the future, can we be in chambers or in a committee room? Do you think that's possible to have? Nikki, you think?
Thank you, Councillor.
By the both. I mean, I know that we can come in via, you know, the system as well, but is it possible to be in person? Is the question.
Thanks, Councillor. So at this time, the only meetings that are happening in person is council. In the new year, we are hoping to be able to transition to in-person meetings for advisories. But according to the county's reopening plan, that will be until the winter of 2022. I'll definitely make sure the committee is informed of how that's moving along. I know everyone's very eager to meet each other in person, and depending on COVID regulation, we'll definitely be working towards that, and I'll keep you all informed of that. But it won't be until the winter of 2022, so not until next year.
And I'll just add to that, we would like to offer at least, if you're not comfortable coming in person, to potentially have a hybrid option as well, so that we can both meet in person, and if you feel comfortable in your own home, you can have that option.
Well, that's exactly what I thought. I was hoping for a hybrid method that would work well for everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll work towards that at the beginning of next year. There will be some messaging coming shortly, probably in January or February, regarding the next phase to reopening the chambers and committee rooms.
Ryan?
Just to piggyback off of Paul, I know that's really good with knowing the user groups, but with the challenge we've had in the last 2 years, I know I'm on the minor hockey executive in Delhi, but I'm also very active within the community. I know there's a lot of groups that weren't able to, or because I know with hockey specifically, especially older leagues and whatnot, that weren't able to run just because of lack of ice time, or especially last year when you had to adjust for cleaning and stuff like that, there was less time available. So I don't know if we want to take into consideration when looking at that what pre-COVID use was. I don't know if there's a way to see what groups are no longer or couldn't use it now that would use it before, or would use it if it was, you know. I just don't want to get tied into just these last 2 years, because they have been, I know you guys have experienced it, they have not been fun at all, and it's really affected a lot of people in terms of recreation, right? So just want to make sure that's taken into account.
For sure.
Thanks, Ryan. Is there anything else under new business or other business? I think we'll move on to the next meeting. As discussed previously, our next meeting will be January 20th, 2022 at 2:30 p.m. I'll be sending out a meeting link shortly for the MS Teams. And if there's no further business discussed, can I please have a motion to adjourn? Can I please have a mover for that? We have Councillor Paston as the mover and Councillor Benedrici as the seconder. Okay, that Martin, can I please, let's call the vote. Okay, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you in January.
Nice
Have a
being
good Christmas.
Yes, have a great
Nice seeing
Christmas.
Great
See you in
Christmas.
January.